All right, listen, so somebody needs to tell Daredevil not to mess with Punisher because this dude just got his behind handed to him. So we got this new series here called Daredevil Punisher, The Devil's Trigger here by Chris Giarrusso. And the first thing that we do here is that we open up with Daredevil hanging upside down in some dark, empty room with his wrist tied. He's bleeding out. Dude's been beat up, right? And clearly he's just regaining consciousness. So he says to himself, he's like, fighting him without a plan was a big mistake. Well, he did promise no chains. Which technically he is right because the things that he's tied up with right now are ropes. And he realizes here that he must have been unconscious for hours. So he realizes that someone uses this place for something. The ropes are tight and it's gonna take a while here for him to get out of this. But then at the same time, he has these like concussion symptoms. One, he has a headache and he has nausea, which is of course not helping. But he realizes that wherever this place is, that he must have put him there for a reason. And he got to think back to exactly what he said. And the one name that comes to his mind here is Joe Malizia. It started here with him. So from there, what we get here is this hard cut to a flashback right there in Matt and Foggy's law office. So Matt right now is sitting down behind a desk here with his sunglasses on, and across from him is Joe Malizia. So what Matt is doing currently right now is that he's laying out here this legal boundary line. He explains that he and Foggy were hired by the Nucci family to represent their interests, and confidentiality only extends to the family itself. So unless Matt gets explicit permission, that there is no such confidences here that will be shared. But the thing is, Malizia is not here for this at all. This dude casually has a knife in his hand and he mentions this. He's like, Murdock, I don't need a thing from you. I was told to give a heads up that we got that maniac, the Punisher, coming after the family. And after they scraped up what's left of her kid, Carlo, near the Empire State, Ma Nucci wants everyone on alert. That includes the hired help, meaning your group. And then for good measure, he throws a little jab here at Matt's blindness. He's like, let's face it, a guy like you would never see him coming. So in response, Matt tells him, he's like, yo, tell Ma Nucci that he can handle himself, and that the next time that she can just call the office if she's concerned about their well-being. So he politely but firmly tells Malizia to put the knife away and to leave. So Malizia, he hesitates for a little bit. He's like, yo, how did you know, right? You're blind, my guy. But with that, he just hops on up out of there and leaves. But Foggy here, he walks in as Malizia is leaving. And then Foggy, after he settles in, he turns over to Matt and is like, okay, well, what was that all about? So Matt, he got a couple questions. He first starts off by saying, the Nucci case, they got only one kid left, right? Which is the one kid that they're representing here a few days from now in court. To which Foggy responds back, he's like, yeah, Dino, he's the youngest, got out on bail and is staying at the Franklin Arms Hotel a few blocks from here off Broadway. He mentions how he got a rap sheet on him that's longer than the CVS receipt, but as you know, the prosecution's case has some major holes. To which Matt's like, yeah, ironic that this time he didn't do what he's being accused of. So then Matt's like, listen, Foggy, I need you to cover for me here because I gotta go do some babysitting. So what we see next here is Matt all suited up in his Daredevil suit, and he's hitting the rooftops here. And I gotta say, this moment, I absolutely love this one moment here where Matt is swinging across the rooftops as pigeons are flying around them. It's a really dope, cool shot. So when he gets to the hotel, first thing that he sees here is that there's security on the roof, which he's like, this is way too easy. No need for confrontation here. And then when he gets down to his room, he's like, okay, top floor room, good. And when he looks inside, he's like, two people inside, Dino and a woman in her 20s, two guards in the hallway, and it's time that him and Dino have a conversation. So Daredevil, he so lightly taps on the window, tap, tap. Dino is wondering what the hell does he want, while the woman that he is with is like, is this dude some type of pervert? So then when Dino walks over to the window, he says this to Daredevil. He's like, you can't touch me, Daredevil. They got me on a bum rap for something I didn't even do this time. I got my day in court coming up. To which Daredevil responds back and is like, Dino, I know, and if this is your idea of hiding out, let me tell you, it's a big fail. So then he mentions this to him. He's like, you do know what happened to your brother, right? And when we see what this dude Dino got on, the first thing I thought is, how the hell was this dude able to pull this baddie? And then the second, for a dude that's supposed to be laying low, This dude got the loudest shirt on right now in New York, looking like he's 2 pina coladas deep. But either way, he says, yeah, the Punisher is what happened. And for your information, I got the whole floor to myself, armed guards by the elevators, front doors, and on the roof, protecting me from that psychopath, which is when Daredevil was like, and yet here I am. To which Dino's like, all right, fine, you got a point. What do you suggest? So Daredevil tells him, he's like, I'm not your travel agent, Dino. The Punisher means business and knows the city better than anyone. You were safer staying in jail to your court appearance. To which Dino, he has this shocked look on his face. He's like, yeah, that's what my lawyer said, but I'm not staying in that hellhole. You don't know what it's like in Rikers. He's like, I'm one-legged and fresh off the bus. They were calling me Wobble Don before I even got to my cell. So then Daredevil's like, fine. Leave here now, though. Break your patterns, don't revisit past places, and vary your moments till your court date. To which Dino's like, that's it? That's all you got? And Daredevil's like, dude, I'm not your mother. Make sure you show up in court on time and hope for the best. So then when we move forward here, what we see is that Daredevil, of course, has been watching Dino because he's on the lookout here for Punisher. And he says to himself, he's like, I keep watch on the convoy of sedans that take Dino and his friend to a better location downtown. But then on the next day, Joe Malizia, we find out that homeboy got ran over by a Mack truck on the Long Island Expressway, to which Matt says had the Punisher's signature all over it. But when the court date finally arrived, Dino appeared as scheduled. The trial was expected to span several days, so until its conclusion, he was to be held under special guard at the local precinct jail. But then if you look in the picture here, right behind Matt and right behind Dino, you could see that there's a very interested party there in a New York Yankees hat. At least that looked like a New York Yankees hat. That's right. That's one, right, guys? But I digress, because that is when here Matt mentions, I noticed a castle among the courtroom spectators at one stage, but he exited before the session was formally adjourned. And that told him everything that he needed to know. So he excused himself for a family emergency as Foggy wrapped things up. So in this next moment here, what we see is Daredevil in rain again, and he's telling himself that he needs to get higher so that he can get a proper scan of the buildings all around. And he knows that Frank Castle is no idiot, and that he knows that Matt sensed him in court and is leading him directly into a trap. So then Daredevil gets to a place where he spots him, and he sees that he's facing the south side of the court building. So he makes this plan. He's like, I have to come around behind him so that he doesn't see him. So Daredevil does just that. So when he gets behind him, he throws his billy clubs at him and is like, not on my watch, to himself, of course. But then out loud, this man gets stupid because he then says this. He's like, lose the gun and raise your hands before I beat you to a pulp. And I'm like, come on, Matt, seriously. You clearly have not thought this through. So he jumps out here at Punisher, and you can see here by the pose that this dude was just doing this for style points, as he says to himself, have to hit him just right. And as he lands a kick on him, he keeps saying to himself, keep hitting him before he can stand his ground. And as he lands a foot right on his dome, he says, I get lucky as I throw off his balance with a kick to the jaw. But then, because Daredevil didn't do anything to wrap up this dude's hands, Frank, as mentioned here, while he's dazed, he pulls out a small box with a button, presses it, and sends out an ultrasonic signal, causing the world to go upside down for me. And Matt says to himself, yep, as expected, a trap all along. And yep, it seems like Batman is not the only one whose superpower is prep time. So it's mentioned here how disoriented, I took a powerful right hook. And Daredevil mentions how he blacked out only for a few minutes. And when he woke up, he was chained up here with a pistol in his hand and was forced to make a choice. So Mac asked the question, what's this? To which Punisher responds, one bullet, one shot, one chance to stop me from killing Dino Nucci. And Matt says to himself, he was forcing me to make a choice, shoot him and stop Dino's assassination, or do nothing and have a death on my conscience, a death I could have prevented. To which Daredevil says, he's like, what kind of choice is that to Frank? To which Frank responds back and says, the one I make every single time I pull the trigger, the one I am making now. So Matt screams, no! while he says to himself, kill him or watch Dino die? I try to make a plea for the law and order that I devoted my life to, but it falls on deaf ears. Try to tell him this is the very ground our society was built on, and to ignore it makes everything we built worthless, but it doesn't work. He's determined to take the shot. He gave me no choice. He put me in an impossible situation to teach me a lesson, to show me how the very law and order I live my life by is wrong in his eyes. And it's here where Matt says to himself, I ask for God's forgiveness as he pulls the trigger. But it's here where he realizes that he was set up again. And damn, he was too late, because now Punisher had Dino in his crosshairs, and Punisher does what he does best. He pulls the trigger. And Daredevil says, as Dino is laying on the ground, there was no firing pin in my gun. Dino never had a chance. And Frank being Frank, he doesn't gloat about it. He just walks up, turns around here to Daredevil and says, the chains will be gone when you wake up. And then he clocks back and he punches Daredevil straight in the face. And then what happens next here is that we see where Matt wakes up in that dark building again, hanging upside down, where we saw him in the opening pages. And what he hears here are 4 cars pulling up to the front of this building. And there were 3 men and a woman, all of their heartbeats elevated except for the woman's. And then we see them, a small group entering, all business, all dressed like people who solve problems in expensive but illegal ways. So the woman, she thanks them for coming and says, let's have a seat. We have much to discuss. And unfortunately here for Daredevil, he is now the unwilling audience. So the woman starts off by saying, I asked you all here today because I want to seize an opportunity before us. As you know, the Nucci family is being taken down by the Punisher, and at this rate, her organization will be gone in a week or 2. Now, Matt gives us some insight here as to who this woman is. He mentions that her name is Gina Russo, brilliant mind looking for easy money, ran a dozen drug operations out of some Brooklyn and Queens hospitals a few years back. I helped put her away for many years, and here she is, back out again. That was quick. Gina continues to mention, she's like, all of us had to deal with Ma Nucci in one way or another over the years, and I know that she has no friends in this room. Am I right? To which one mentions, yeah, she squashes my mellow for sure. Now they all kind of start talking a little bit here about what the Punisher has done recently, of course, talking about the fact that they saw the headshot here that Punisher did to one of Ma Nucci's sons, while another one talks about how he had his ass handed to him here by the Punisher himself. But Gina, she's trying to get everybody to focus, because she's like, listen, up until now, it's been all about control. Who owns what, who's playing who, and those constant turf wars that cost us our good people. While Nucci is in power, we battle over scraps. What I am proposing is a complete shift here in the way that we do business. To which this guy responds back and says, there's nothing wrong with my business. And it's here where we find out that this guy here is Big Tony Rizzoli. And Matt mentions how he thought that he was doing life in Attica for the double homicide on the Staten Island ferry. Foggy and I helped to get that conviction. I don't remember hearing that he broke out. So Gina continues on. She's like, here's what I'm thinking. We join forces. We push past whatever influence Ma still holds over her connections and take full charge of the 5 boroughs in a professional, united way. To which Tony is like, just like that? So then Gina responds back. She's like, yeah, just like that, Tony. Remember my background. We can do this with smart decisions, solid partnerships, and no more chaos. Together, we have the numbers to make this happen. Business done right. What do you think, Patty and Randy? And while she says this here with a smile on her face, this dude, Tony, just starts laughing his behind off. And then he says, he's like, you stupid little bleep. You think you can just? But then he starts laughing again, and you can tell, look at Gina's eyes here, she is getting irritated. So what happens here is that she reaches into her jacket pocket and she starts to pull here at this weapon. And she says, that's enough. And as this dude is laughing, she's like, I said that's enough. She jumps up on top of this table. She pulls that knife out, and then she just takes this dude out. And while she does that, she says, no one laughs at me like that. You hear me? And then after that, Gina stands up looking very enticing because of the knife, right? Because she could kill everyone there. That's what I was saying specifically. And then she says, she's like, so what do you guys think of my proposal? So the rest of them, of course, naturally, it's like, yeah, oh, this is a great idea. Should have done this years ago. So then as she walks out here with Tony just like on the floor, like he gone. She got her arms here on their shoulders and she's like, good. Now that it's settled, let's hit the King's Plaza Diner and talk details over a stack of pancakes. Because you know, there's always a good time for pancakes. So then right here in the aftermath of that, we see where Daredevil finally got himself loose here from those ropes. And he says to himself, he's like, Punisher knew exactly why he tied me up here. He wanted me to witness this. He knew I helped put two of them away for what I thought was a life sentence. And yet here they are, right back to their old ways. He wanted to show me my convictions in the courtrooms were useless. I'd like to know how in the hell he knew that they'll be meeting here though. Well, however he made this happen, Castle dropped me into this mess. And once I clean it all up, I'm coming for him. So listen, I really enjoyed this. What do you think? What I'm hoping for here in this next issue is that we get to see things from the Punisher's perspective. Also, a while back here, we covered this series called Daredevil: A Cold Day in Hell. That was done here by Charles Soule, which was a phenomenal series. It's a story that covers when Matt Murdock was old. It also shows Punisher when he's old as well. Bullseye. Really good series here. Definitely check it out down below. I'll link the playlist down here. Also, don't forget here to leave a like on this video for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. Join our Discord here. The link for that is going to be down below in the description in our link tree. As always, we appreciate you guys watching us, and thank you so much for kicking it with Keepin' It Comic. Bye.